Hey, you want to watch some TV or something?
Skip it. Well, I'm getting ready to watch a video.
Really? What?
Nothing but foul language and toilet humor.
I'm disgusted and repulsed and I can't look away.
I need these things! I need these things! Tell me, do you want to go? We're stopping in on the color line.
Oh, no way, Jose.
This just in, go to hell!
This conversation can serve no purpose anymore.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!
Hello, friends and listeners. You got Watch Skip Plus. We are a movie review podcast with a lifestyle twist. The twist is after we review a movie, streaming or theatrical, you get a bonus review, a bonus lifestyle review. It can be on anything. Warning, pop culture may ensue. I am Cupcake, also known as Jose. I'm joined by my co-host, Mike, the WillDaBeast, and I assure you that neither of us have disclosed classified information on a Signal chat. Mike, how are you doing this week? How are you doing this week?
I'm doing okay. It seems like every single day we're in another portion of hell. Like Dante's Inferno is just dragging us further and further down into hell every single day. Welcome to 2025. Well, what can we do? We just keep chugging along, ignoring the powers that be, fight the way we can fight. I mean, this week I overworked myself and pulled my foot. I got some bursitis going on. So, everything seems to go to crap once you injure yourself, and then the rest of the world's falling apart. So yeah, it wasn't the best week, but I had some film to keep me company, and I had my kids. We've got spring break that just started on Friday, and it's going all next week. So
wow,
ready.
Fun.
When we talk next week, my brain's probably going to be, because I'm going to be with kids all week. So
WillDaBeast and the no good, terrible spring break day, or what have you.
Get ready.
Go. So lest people think I'm completely vulgar, the shirt that I have on today, which vibes with the theme of the film, is the only fantastic creature I could find, but it's Ride Me for Luck. This is Falcor from the Neverending Story. So
mine is a fantastic creature as well, a creature known as T-Pain. Oh, you can't see it because of my guy. There you go.
I see it. I see it. There you go.
Buy me a drink. Shorty, let me know what you think. I love.
Oh my God. Don't get me started on singing. All is fair when you wear the crown. What are we? What are we? By the way, my week was also terrible, and I just released Snow White. It's a Sunday. This is awful.
It's okay.
But it takes me forever because I love to make our YouTube versions of our podcast more than just talking heads. But what are we reviewing this week?
We are reviewing A24's wide release of a film called The Death of a Unicorn. A little dark comedy.
Yeah. A complete dark comedy. What did we say on the last episode? A24, the gift that keeps giving. So I think, A24 and Neon, they're certainly having quite a year or past year, some really good releases. So let's dive into this movie, Death of a Unicorn. First of all, you gotta love that title, right?
Cool title.
Our director and writer is Alex Sharfman, and other than the fact that he's really kind of cute, there's not a lot on him. Looks like he has produced a bunch of genre films. So I'm kind of looking at Women Who Kill, Sela and the Spades. He was an executive producer on that. Blow the Man Down, which was a Prime exclusive film that I've heard nothing but good things about. Have I seen it? No. Resurrection, which I think stars, I want to say either Rebecca Hall or Margaret Qualley. I think it's Margaret Qualley.
Hall.
Oh, is it Rebecca Hall? Okay. And then
it was at Sundance.
House. Oh, was it? Is that good? Should I watch that?
It is good. You should watch
it. Got it. And then the recent House of Spoils starring Ariana DeBose. That kind of looked like The Menu. She's a chef or something like that. So again, not a lot on this gentleman. He has written shorts, and this is his first feature film, his first directing effort as well, writing and directing. Not to spoil my review, but I'm going to be looking out for this gentleman's name. How about you? Did you get to see him at Sundance?
No, I don't remember seeing him. But yeah, there was a few other people once we get to the cast that I've seen before at Sundance. So we'll wait till we get there.
Got it. Our DP is a gentleman named Larry Fong, and I've got to tell you, everybody's got their cinematography favorites, whether that's Janusz Kaminski or I don't know. Give me names. I'm thinking of names. I'm trying to think of names of big cinematographers, Rodrigo Prieto, etc. But Larry Fong is one of the newer cinematographers that I definitely very much look out for. Many will obviously know him as the director of photography for a lot of Zack Snyder films. And so 300, Watchmen, Sucker Punch. I mean, he's such a visualist. I love the way that he lends his films. Oddly enough, he was also the director of photography for Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers, which is kind of interesting. But he's also shot The Predator, Kong, Skull Island, obviously Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice, amazing. Now You See Me, Now You Don't, Super 8, which you talked about on the last show, or one of the other shows. Our music is by Giosuè Grieco. He is an Italian composer, multi-instrumentalist. He has scored shorts. He's scored movies like End of Sentence, shows like The Good Doctor, Superman, and Lois. And then he's also joined by Dan Romer. He too is Los Angeles based, and he composes scores for series like Station 11, The Good Doctor, maybe that's how they met, and then features like Luca for Pixar. And one shout out is casting directors. So I'm such a film nerd that I do look at casting directors. So for example, John Papsidera, if you ever see his name as a casting director, you'll know the cast is going to be full of bright young talent that you haven't seen yet, or established professionals. The other person I love is Avi Kaufman, A-V-Y Kaufman. And it's a lady, folks, so it's not a man. But she is an amazing, amazing casting director. Brokeback Mountain, the new Suspiria, okay, goes all the way back. Ripley for the Netflix with Andrew Scott. American Animals, if you've ever seen that, that's great.
Oh, yeah.
The Circle. Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk, discovering Joe Alwyn. She is absolutely amazing. And again, just like John Papsidera, or even Molly Finn, who is a woman, Malifinn. I see Avi Kaufman on there. Yeah. She also casted Stop Loss. If you remember that. Oh yeah. The Kimberly Pierce film, Channing Tatum. She cast Channing Tatum in that at the time. So she just, wow, she's kudos, chef's kiss. And on to you, the cast for Death of a Unicorn, unless you have anything to say about our below the liners.
Nope, I'll let you go through those, and you touch them well, as you always do. And speaking of that cast, she has done a great job of putting a cast together here. So I'm going to try to bust through this cast as quickly as possible. We have some great names. So first off, for me, the first that I noticed was Jessica Hines, a well-known British actor known for working with Edward Wright and Simon Pegg on Spaced and Shaun of the Dead. It was fun seeing her against type as kind of a heavy security guard type, blasting people away. We have another great character actor. Again, this is full of character actors, so many. We have Steve Park, who plays Dr. Sun. Gosh, he's got 40 years of acting credits.
Love him.
Sonny on Do the Right Thing, Detective Brian on Falling Down, as well as he's got recurring roles on Wes Anderson films such as French Dispatch, Asteroid City, and he's worked with Coen Brothers on a few films. So if you've seen Steve Park, we all have. He's been in a ton of stuff, and he just every time he comes on, he elevates films. He just and he's very funny. I mean,
If I remember
Yes.
anything about Fargo, it's I always loved you, Margie. Oh my
He is.
goodness.
Yes, he's really funny. And then going on through the cast, Sunita Mani plays Dr. Bhatia, Dr. Song's assistant. She's got her start in television in Mr. Robot, Netflix's Glow. Played lead roles in indie hit Save Yourselves from Sundance and along John Paul Reynolds. Also plays lead role in a podcast turned film Evil Eye, which both the podcast and the film is pretty awesome if you haven't seen or heard that. As well as small roles in Spirited and Everything Everywhere All at Once. She comes on with her big eyes and just quirky, funny demeanor. Again, another great character actress.
Love her.
Can't wait to hear.
Good up.
She's great. Yeah, she's really great. Again, moving on to Anthony Kerrigan plays Griff. He's bald from alopecia, kind of his big shiny bald head is what he's really known for. I know him for NoHo Hank in Bill Hader's excellent HBO show Barry. That's really a star turn for him. But he's been, you've seen his face in TV shows from Law and Order, The Flash, Parenthood, many, many things. But he also had a big role in Gotham, playing Victor Zsasz. But he recently has popped up in funny roles in Bill and Ted's Face the Music, as well as a small role in Kevin Hart's Netflix film Fatherhood. What about you? Have you seen that?
Say Fatherhole?
Fatherhood. Fatherhole. You're like, sign me up for that one.
Stick it in your father hole, okay? First of all, the condition that he has, it's an autoimmune disease called alopecia areata. There are a number of stars. Somebody who comes to mind is I think his name is like Anthony Gatt or something. G-H.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure there'll be a caption. If I'm wrong about this, there'll definitely be a caption. But I just want to say that, like, yeah, he's got it. And I think that he's got that autoimmune disease and people will often look at him. He does have a very striking appearance. But he's a good looking guy and his acting ability is really, really great. And so I want him to be cast in more things rather than just, you know, the assassin or the what. Why not just be the quirky best friend, right? Or a lead, you know? So I love Anthony Kerrigan. I was very happy.
I did too. It was good to see him. And again, it's kind of different for him. I think he's playing a chef type character, but he's like always butler. A smaller, a butler, always a smaller role for him. Would love to see him in bigger roles. Now let's go on to our leads, our lead cast. First off, who stole the film for me? Will Poulter. He got his start as a child actor back in Sundance at age 13 in Son of Rambo. He played Lee Carter.
Yes.
He was there for the premiere, so I was able to see him for that as a little boy. He had a very like almost bruiser look as a younger child, like kind of like looked like this little bully kid that you just don't want to fuck with. But as he's gotten older, he's gotten more handsome, more attractive, and kind of become more of a lead man. From there, I mean, he's been in Black Mirror, Wild Bill, a great turn in We Are the Millers, which again, he kind of steals that when he's working against heavies like Jennifer Aniston. I
feel like that put him on the map, kind of.
It did. That was kind of the starting turn for him, and he was so funny and so like he just played that regular kid who just like every single weird, rude, raunchy thing that he had thrown at him in that film just felt so like this kid's big eyes just getting open to everything. So I loved him in that. He had a great little role in Midsummer, Maze Runner. Again, he had his hunky turn as Adam Warlock in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, he's part of the MCU. You know what? God bless however Will Poulter came up in the industry, because we hear about child actors or actresses that end up in rehab or what. Now, to my knowledge, he's not had like kind of like a weird whatever, but he's strong in almost everything that he's in. So I love seeing Will Poulter. He is a hunk in this. Yeah. Like
he's a hunk.
Booty was banging, nice lean legs. You do get to see his bare feet, which I was very happy about, I will say.
He's had a glow up. I mean, definitely a glow up from that rough, rugged looking kid in Son of Rambo to what he is now. So it's been fun watching him kind of turn. And speaking of someone who's recently been in the MCU, Richard Grant, He's a British character actor with over 150 credited roles. He had a small role in the Loki television series. But I mean, if you watch TV, you've seen British or movies, you've seen Richard Grant. Most famous for With Nell and I from 1987, erotic drama Henry and June. And then in the like early 90, 89, 90, 91, he just was boom, 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 from Steve Martin's LA Story, Bruce Willis's Flop Hudson Hawk, Robert Altman's The Player. And from then on, he just was his face was recognizable. He kept popping up as a character actor in many, many films. Again, over 150 credited roles. Recently showed up in Loki, Saltburn, and Argyle. Again, wonderful actor. I enjoy seeing him every time. What about you?
Oh my God. First of all, let me just say this. Richard E. Grant, he's been in all these prestige things, all these comedies, all the movies you mentioned. And I'm sorry, I will go to the grave remembering him as, God, what was the name of his character? Mr. Minerva or whatever in Hudson Hawk.
Yes.
He and Sandra Bernhard kill me in that movie. Bunny ball. Like and I'm sorry, I have to say it, Spice World as the much put upon manager. Yes. He's great. You know what? I'm going to say this. He's fearless. Like he'll take a role and he'll knock it out of the park. I want to say he was in Saltburn. Was he in Saltburn?
Yep, he was in Saltburn.
Okay.
Really great.
Okay, good. I'm glad
Similar
I didn't get that
role
wrong,
in that.
but...
Yeah, he was very similar role as he was in this. Older, rich. He's really good at the older, rich folks that he's been playing for the last 10 years.
Eccentric. Yeah.
Yep, eccentric for sure. Continuing on, Tia Leone, known for The Family Man and Jurassic Park 3. I've actually saw her at Sundance for a really bad film with Al Pacino called People I Know. I was at my first Sundance. I was really excited to see her in person because I had a huge crush on her because I think I saw The Family Man right before I saw that. Again, she had a huge come up in the 2000s, disappeared and just focused on TV for a decade in Madam Secretary. Ran 120 episodes in Madam Secretary. That sucked all of her time for pretty much the majority of the 2010s. So it was good seeing her in a film again. I thought that I'd seen her in like 50, 60 films. She only has like 30 things on her resume. So as much as we think she's been in 50, 60, 70 films, she just has been so good and solid in the films that she's picked and the television. It's a really recognizable face. What about you? What do you think about Tia Leone?
So I fell in love with her wildly comedic, sort of down low comedic turn in Bad Boys.
Yes.
She's great. I love the scene where Martin Lawrence is like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "I only saw bullets. What is this? We're in a family car. You've got a baby seat. There's a baby seat in the back." She's so funny. And then she parlayed that to some small roles in like Deep Impact, Flirting with Disaster, which I love. I love Flirting with Disaster. But she was on a TV show called The Naked Truth playing Nora Wilde. And I was obsessed with that show. 55 episodes, loved it. I was a huge fan of Madam Secretary. I saw all of it until it got canceled. I love Tia Leone. She's also the ex-wife of David Duchovny. Obviously, if you Google, they went through some things. But yeah, it's always a pleasure to see her back on screen. We will return to the fact that she was in Jurassic Park 3 as well as this when we get to our review.
And this leads us down to our last two, our leads, the people we've heard the most about, Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega. They've both been talked about a bunch from us in past episodes. I'm not going to deep dive because we all know Paul Rudd and we know Jenna Ortega. Paul Rudd most famously recently for Ant-Man and the Wasp. And I know him, first thing I ever saw him in was Clueless, as well as a fun little turn in Halloween 6. Paul Rudd's been around forever. We all know him. We all love him. I seen him at Sundance. He was there for a film called The Shape of Things. So again, I love Paul Rudd. And Jenna Ortega has had a great run. My wife has worked with her in a couple films. And she also came up with Wednesday. I think that's what she's most famous for. But she's been in the Scream films. We've talked about her a lot. Anything you want to say about Paul Rudd or Jenna Ortega?
Yeah, so Paul Rudd appears to have discovered the Fountain of Youth. I still do not understand why, although there's some crow's feet or whatever, but other than that, he looks exactly as he did in Clueless and Halloween 6 or whatever, which is so bizarre. Also, The Shape of Things, Neil LaBute, one of my favorite director writers, love that. Paul Rudd is adorable. Like, I love him. I feel like he can do everything. Serious, obviously comedy is his big thing. What was the David Gordon Green movie? Captain Avalanche or something?
Captain Avalanche with Emil Hirsch. Is that his name? Yeah, his great little movie.
Rudd's performance in that kind of blew me away. In fact, now that I think about it, it's a real pain, if that makes sense. I think when you see the movie, it will make sense. What that comment anyway. And then Jenna Ortega, big it girl. A shame that, you know, she got swept up in the whole Melissa Barrera. We just talked about this. The Melissa Barrera give kids in their 20s grace when they're passionate. Although she didn't quite get swept up in it, because when Barrera left, I think the rumor was that Ortega asked for more pay, and Spyglass was like, we're not going to do it. And then she was like, and I'm out. So anyway, but love Jenna Ortega. She's great. I just caught Miller's Girl on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
That she did with, I believe, what is his name? He's so sexy. Martin Freeman. Freeman. Yeah, that's a good little 90-minute ditty. It's really good. Yeah.
So that's it for the cast. Let's go ahead and jump right into the film proper. Jose, you want to start us out?
Yeah, sure. All right. So in the trades being Hollywood Reporter, Variety, Deadline, they talk of something called a comp or a comparable. And usually when they talk about comps, they talk about the type of genre film and then how the box office performs, right? But I'm going to use the term comp to describe this film, Death of a Unicorn. I'm going to use that to say its most recognizable comp will be a film called Krampus, which I believe was directed by Michael Dougherty. And the reason why I say Krampus is a good comp for this is that if you've ever seen Krampus, which is a great film, it takes a fantastic figure that maybe a lot of us either don't know of or don't know the history of. Krampus is like the exact antithetical opposite of Santa. And it pumps it into a film that talks about family dynamics and then maybe has some social commentary about like corporate greed maybe, or how a holiday has changed. But the thing about Krampus that really struck me was that it was so mean-spirited and violent. Like, it was such a shock that even knowing the premise of Krampus, the things that go on in that movie, and there's even an unrated director's cut. And so I know that sort of violence and mean-spiritedness of Krampus turned a lot of people off of it, I think. I think they were expecting a horror movie, just not that kind of horror movie. And so it is with Death of a Unicorn. The trailers sort of focus on this as kind of like a horror comedy, which I got to tell you, I think, you know, when I hear horror comedy, it's such a delicate balance, right? You're either going to get freaky or you're going to get heart eyes, which we hate. I mean, we fucking hated heart eyes, okay?
Yeah, we did not.
But the thing about this film is that it's really more of a satire, right? But it has Krampus's violent mean streak in it. And so just as a trigger warning to any viewer wanting to see this, yes, it's a comedy, but it will whiplash you with the level of violence that gets introduced. But on the whole, I'm sure everybody's heard about the premise. You know, Paul Rudd and his daughter have a fractured relationship. He's going to this retreat with these pharmaceutical big wigs, a la the people that made what's the drug? The opiate drug that we hate.
OxyContin.
Yeah, that the family that made Oxy, basically. And he's going there. His wife has passed away. Again, fractured relationship with his daughter, but he's going there to try to secure a position in this big firm. And while they're driving on this sort of like restricted land, they hit a unicorn. And what ends up very comical, they end up sort of mercy killing the unicorn, but then they discover that the unicorn has these weird magical powers, and then the family of unicorns come for retribution. And so, yeah, you're reading that correct. The unicorns hunt the humans. So, like I said, it's a satire because we go all around corporate greed and how it really just screws with everybody's sort of like long term, like, you know, everybody's in it for money versus in it for like helping people. But again, all I can think about is the fact that, like I said, it's like Krampus. There are a ton of nods to Mike's favorite, Jurassic Park. I mean, down to like the shots of it, and just the pacing of everything. I got whiffs of like E.T. with the big, like, you know, the tunnel and the masks and going after like innocent looking people and then testing them and stuff like that. So there's a beautiful nod to those sort of like 80s films, and then of course Jurassic Park. But man, did I ever love the sort of like dual tone of the comedic satire, and then just that crazy level of violence that happens when it goes all Jurassic Park. So I don't think this is going to be for every audience. I think the level of violence is going to turn some people off. But if you loved Krampus, I really can't compare this really much to anything else we've seen. It's very unique. I loved the history of the unicorns. Apparently, the director did a lot of research about this. The director, by the way, was also an executive on The Witch, and had talked about how Robert Eggers on The Witch just had research book upon research book upon research book. And so he had really researched the history of the unicorn and the mythology. And so that's going to be really new for some people. I had no idea about all that stuff. But it was right up my alley. If you see this with the right audience, much like Mickey 17, and people are really sort of getting it, and I hate to say that, I hate to put myself in that little shell of like, oh, well, you didn't like it because you didn't get it. I agree. There's some things in this that are going to turn some people off. Primarily just, I think, the social commentary about big pharma and, you know, whatever. Now, the director has noted how he wanted to keep the heart of the film, the father-daughter relationship between Rudd and Ortega. I think some of that gets lost in the corporate greed commentary, because when we focus then back on the emotional center of the script, it also feels like a whiplash, right? We've got the satire, we've got the horror, we've got the monster movie, and then we're back to like the mom and or the father and daughter kind of thing. Yeah. But I really loved the message of the father and the daughter, and how, you know, he realizes, you know, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, I'm doing the exact opposite of wanting to help people, which is an interesting message for the whole film overall, because I'm sure the people that started Big Pharma didn't think that, you know, it was just going to be this money-making venture. I'm sure they started with good intentions of helping people, and then it became this, well, we can make more money, and here's a new disease, let's make more money. And so I think that message of the film is much stronger, and the horror elements, than that sort of thing. But I really loved this idea that at the end of the day, whether you meet a unicorn or you meet somebody that doesn't fit your sort of profile or isn't acting the way that you think that they should, the bottom line is we're all sort of interconnected. It's the message of the film is almost Buddhist in some ways, that we're all interconnected, like you, me, the animals, the plants, the earth, the universe, all of it. And we need to remind ourselves of that. Yeah, I took that away from Death of a Unicorn, folks. Anyway, it's a big watch for me. I don't know if it's going to be a success, but I know it's definitely going to be a cult film. So what do you think? What did you think? I'm dying to hear.
Well, I'm kind of on the fence on this one. I felt like it was a lot like Mickey 17, and that's not a good thing for me. I felt like it was really paced poorly. It took a long time to get to the fun stuff with the unicorn. I really wasn't that enthused with the chemistry between the leads. They're the weakest links in this film to me, Rudd and Ortega. They just kind of are there. They try to make Rudd seem schlubby with a really bad haircut and make him seem like this kind of like nerdy, geeky dad role that he doesn't quite fit into. Ortega's just sitting here the whole time with her big wide eyes and just rambles off this dialogue that just seems like unrealistic for her character. There were supposed to be some vibes of grief dealing with the mother passing away that didn't come through. But the supporting cast of characters is what really kind of saves this. Once we get with our rich family, played by Grant and Tia Leone and their son, Will Poulter. I mean, he stills this thing. He stills it. Every role, every line, every minute he's on screen, he is hilarious. I wanted more and more of him, and I wanted more of that than I did the leads. I just felt nothing for them, and I thought it was probably both of their worst roles in a long time. I wasn't enthused.
Really?
There was stupid stuff with, like, there was lots of weird plotting. Again, first time filmmakers, first time writing. There were some issues with the writing. I didn't like right in the beginning, the obvious sneezing when they're driving, and then her really bad acne. It's like, okay, something's happening with that because that acne looks really bad and he's purposely sneezing. And then, we find out that there's magical properties that the unicorn has. Not a shocker, that erases the acne and erases. So there's just kind of, I don't know, writing 101 issues that just seem to falter the film. I do like what they're trying to do here, but again, they're doing too much.
You're doing too much.
Pick a lane and stick in it. Like, I really think that they hit the exploitation of animals, the exploitation of humans, the exploitation of people and things for money by the greedy. And the turn that they had as soon as they hear this unicorn in the back of the car, why did they take the unicorn with them? Why didn't they just leave it there? Why did they feel that there might have been some kind of dialogue there, but that was cut. All of a sudden they decided to take this, what they thought was a dead animal, and put it in the back of their car. Why would anyone ever do that? Did we not see Tommy Boy to see what happens when you put a so-called dead animal in the back of a car? You just don't do it. So why they did that, again, writing 101, to me, that was a big mistake. So there's so many issues with the writing and the screenplay that I felt like it more of a first draft, like they could have done 2, 3, maybe 4 more drafts of this. Tightened it down from a long 150 minutes to a tight hour and 35 minutes, decided on a theme and stuck the landing, it would have been much better. Right now, I'm on the fence because this kind of film is going to work for the people it works for, but it's going to trick a lot of people into thinking they're getting something that they're not. So some people, like you said, are going to be shocked at the amount of gore in this, but the gore is just a whole bunch of CGI. And I really wasn't that impressed with the mixture of the CGI and the practical. When they did the practical zoom up effects of the teeth and the mean looking beasts of these like unicorns, that looks so cool. But then when they zoom out and you see these CGI creatures that look even worse than what we got in Wicked, it just didn't fit. We were supposed to be in a real world, but first time filmmaker, some budgetary issues. This didn't all work for me. I wanted this to work for me. I wanted it to be more like The Monkey, but it felt more like Hard Eyes. It felt just too many cooks in the kitchen and too many ideas just thrown out there without a solid plan. I thought that the acting is solid. Everybody, all the way down to NoHo Hank, everyone in that supporting cast did what they could. With the screenplay, that seems like it needed to go through 2 or 3 more drafts. In the end, I'm on the fence. Right now, I'm going to say that it's a soft skip. But I think there are some people like you who are going to enjoy this. But for me, I found it to be kind of a chore, kind of a mess. And there was so much potential for it to be so solid that the few laughs and the few things I did enjoy kind of were ruined again by a really bad ending. That ending did not work for me at all. And I just wish they would have picked something and stuck to it. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see your points here. And I think that's why like I said, I think the only real comp to this is Krampus. It has almost the exact same kind of like style and pacing and stuff like that. A lot has been talked about this CGI. I can see where people are taking it to task for being a little dodgy. Also, what did you think of the design of the unicorns? So in my mind, they were almost like a combination of like a horse and a lion.
Yeah, with werewolf teeth. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're interesting, but I liked when we saw the few times we saw a close up. Must have made like a head or the mouthpiece, the practical mouth effect that they have. You see it in the poster, and there's a great scene where the face is right up there next to Ortega's face, and that looks cool. That looks menacing. That looks scary. And then you zoom back and you see this big purple, majestic looking, fake looking beast right out of Wicked, and it's like, oh, that doesn't work at all like what you're showing me.
Speaking of the practical, I will say I really loved the practical stunts of the stunt people being thrown around on wires by the beast. That was pretty cool. But you know, it's weird. There's a sequence with the car that's just straight out of Jurassic Park, you know? Yep. But for me, there is something that I think was a little too on the nose that I'm going to ding the production for, which is, and I don't know if this was on purpose. I think it was, but there is a lot in the production design that makes it both modern and sort of fantastical in some ways, or fairy tale-esque. So their the whole compound where they drive to, it looks like, you know, like Snow White married some architect and they created that, right? And then Jenna Ortega has this really cool, like, it's a sweatshirt, but it's kind of like a cape. And so her hands aren't in the sleeves, but it's like almost like a pashmina that looks like a sweatshirt, but it looks very Little Red Riding Hood. So some of that shit was a little too on the nose. Like the mountains look a lot like a fairy tale, and especially when they whip out the tapestries, and it's very much like, you know, here's this and that. But yeah, I think in the spoiler section we'll be able to talk a little bit more about some of the corporate satire, because I think they go probably a little further than they should have in terms of it, but I think it's spot on for our society now. And like you had said, I want to also point out that Griff and Jessica Hines, their characters are actually pretty cool, especially the Griff character, which I thought was really kind of funny. But yeah, I do see your point though about it could have been tightened up, but I kind of had a blast with it. So yeah.
I wish I did, and I was so wanting to. I thought that this was going to work for me. It didn't work, and it didn't work for anyone in my theater. Granted, it was probably half full. I saw it first screening on Thursday. It was decent. I mean, half full, but there was no laughs. I think I was the only one that laughed, and there were a few laughs. I mean, I love good gore comedy bits, which is why the monkey works so well for me. I wish we would have had more fast-paced kills. Some of the kills really worked. I did love I did love some of the graphic stuff, which I think we'll get more into. Let's get more into that with spoilers. So why don't we just get right to it? I'm going to say this is a soft skip. You're going hard watch.
Yeah, well, not a hard watch, but cinematically, solid. I think definitely solid watch. Yeah, absolutely.
So solid watch. I'm a soft skip, and we're going to spoil the shizzat out of this in 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so
let's go.
Yeah, so the gore insanity, like the just horns going through people. When they tore apart the Indian actress, I was like, oh my God. And then you had to know if when they show the tapestry of the unicorn eating the person's guts, you had to know somebody was going to get that. And Tia Leona gets that, and it's like, oh shit.
Her guts got ripped, and she really got ripped apart good. And then there's the head smashing that was really cool. The slow intensity of that head smash, and the eyes got the blood rush into the eyeballs. That was a cool effect. That was what really got me. The head smash scene, and Tia Leone, and then I love the kills. Again, what is it like Sammy says? Like, yeah, lots of CGI, but it is kind of what it is. But I felt like the mixing of the CGI with the practical it seemed like two separate things. So you could definitely see the CGI versus the practical blood, and the CGI effect versus the practical effects of the beast. It just technical things I think could be tuned in as this director and writer continues on their career. This is a great start off. It's a great first feature.
Oh yeah.
But as a whole, it's a hit or miss affair. And I think that most of the people who watch and listen to our show are going to be more on your side. I think more people are going to like it, but it is one of those things that I haven't seen a lot of gushing, like overall love about. I mean, I think on the awful Rotten Tomatoes has it like right around 50. It is one of those movies that rides that line. It's on the fence. You're either going to like it or you're not. And there's not a lot of room in the middle for this kind of film. So for me,
let's talk about the satire though. Like, I think we all get the corporate greed and the wanting to, it's discovered that the unicorn blood like helps, right? And there's also some stuff about the horn, and when she touches the horn, we get this beautiful effect sequence of like, it reminded me of the beginning of Contact, right? Because seemingly what it looks like is it's showing you, as I had said in my spoiler-free review, the fact that we're all kind of connected, right? So even though these fantasy creatures are, the unicorns or whatever, when Jenna touches the horn, or even when Will Poulter snorts the horn dust, which I thought was hysterical. But, it looks like we're going back to when, everything was just an atom, and then there was the Big Bang, and then that's what inspired life and everything. And so, when you think about the violence we inflict on ourselves, on the earth, on animals, or whatever, we all just started from that little thing. And I think, Buddhism talks about this a lot, this interconnectivity and just sort of like being, and then the sharing sort of that connection. I liked that, but just like the relationship between Paul Rudd and Ortega, I think the satire and the horror sort of knocked that back. And so at the end of the film, Rudd finally realizes, he's like, look, I was doing this to protect you, and all along you were telling me this is the wrong thing, don't do it. When that finally comes, it doesn't feel as strong as it could have, just because unfortunately Ortega is the horror trope of the young person that nobody listens to, right? Yep. Including her father. So I had mentioned I thought that they took maybe the corporate greed aspect a little further than they should have. And this is the part of the comedy that I think is not going to work for a lot of people, because as all of this is going through and people are dying, there's this really amazing scene where like Tia Leone is trying to justify making all the money from the unicorn, but in a way that makes it that turns it around on Jenna Ortega and Paul Rudd and Griff. And so there's something where she's kind of like saying, well, wouldn't it be offensive to the deaths so far if we didn't try to harness the power or whatever? This kind of like rationalization that like, okay, I'm going to spin my greed to make it sound beneficial. I think that's going to turn some people off. But I found it hilarious. I thought it was fucking hysterical.
I loved all that stuff. I thought the corporate greed, the exploitation of life, all really worked. The interconnectedness of creatures with humankind was already kind of hammered in with Mickey 17 recently. I mean, let's talk about the last few weeks of movies we've seen. We've seen some interesting ideas. We have to give it up. We've been complaining about Hollywood not having any original ideas when we have movies like The Monkey, Mickey 17, and this that are pretty original and pretty cool ideas, pretty cool concepts, touchstoning on different genres, mixing comedy, mixing horror, mixing social commentary, all for a good effect for the most part. My issue with this film came down to the father-daughter bits. None of it worked. Their relationship doesn't work. They don't feel like father-daughter to me. I don't know what. she just got done with Beetlejuice because she felt like she was doing the exact same role as she did in Beetlejuice. The same character pretty much except cut her hair and put a little red bit at the end. This was her worst role for me. And I love her. And I thought she was just not good.
So Ortega is really, really strong. Like at the end, when we think that Paul Rudd is essentially going to die, like I was like, damn, she can like cry on command or something, because she's really, really good. But I think she's in danger of just repeating that personality, you know? Like I think I've seen this personality of hers in other performances, and it's kind of getting old. I mean, so that Miller's Girl thing, that's really cool because she's like super mean-spirited, right? But it's kind of like, you know, the eccentric loudmouth rebel is the role she's always playing, or she's playing exceedingly evil and snarky. So I don't know. I she may pigeonhole herself, but the like I said, they could have done more with that relationship, like you said, but she just becomes that horror trope. Like, nobody's listening to me and I have all the answers. Like, I admit, I kind of rolled my eyes when she had like the tapestries out and she was like, here's this. And I'm like, okay, we got that. I don't think we needed that whole explanation thing.
We didn't need any of that. That was all, again, screenwriting 101. The screenplay is the biggest issue with this film. So many, you need to go through more drafts, you need to tighten what you're trying to do. I love the transformation of the family from, okay, we have Richard E. Grant who's dying of cancer. Basically, they're trying to figure out what they're going to do with the company moving forward because they're expecting him to die any minute. Is his son going to take it over? Are they going to work together with his wife? They were trying to come up with a plan for the future. But once they realized the healing factor, seeing them switch and twist from being so miserable and sad and then how do I exploit this? When Richard Grant they take this, they grind up the horn, put it into water. It becomes this purple elixir that they put into an IV. He wakes up, and of course, this dramatic, he's been either in a wheelchair or slumped over. He comes out all dramatic and then puts his hands in the air, stands up straight, and he's like, I am better. And then their idea, instead of like, how can we make the world better? We can cure cancer, or we can make a ton of money. We don't have a lot of this, so what do? Let's call all of our billionaires who have cancer or are dying. God,
that was crazy.
And then they start calling all of them, and next thing you know, they're going to make $1 billion from this thing because they're pricing it out. I love how they price it out by the eighth, or cocaine, and the fact that they use it like it's cocaine, where Will Poulter grinds it up and he's snorting it, and he totally acts like Christian Bale in American Psycho, and you just he's just so crazed over the greed and what this is doing for him, but yet he's snorting all the freaking goods. So there's really some really funny things there.
But the fun comedic thing is that the one thing that doesn't change in that family dynamic is they all realize Will Poulter is a fucking idiot and that he cannot run the company. And that, and it's, there are these, I regret saying there are these sort of like subtle moments, because there's no subtlety in this fucking movie, but there are these moments where, Poulter, he wants to put himself out there as this person who has all these great ideas, but he's really just not very smart. He's thinking on a street level. So he's the one who coins the eighth, right? Like an 8-ball. And like Tia Leone's that measurement is so very specific. Why? And he's like, hey, we all do it, right? And but he's just not, he's not at the corporate level. But there are these little moments where, you can see, this is the great part about Poulter's performance, is you can see he's still an emotionally stunted child, because he's like, well, Mom, what did you think of that idea? Isn't that idea great? Didn't I say? And he's like running after her for approval or whatever. Or the part where he's like, I'm going to go to my room and sulk or whatever. And then he comes out and he's like, I'm trying to grieve, or whatever it was he said or whatever. So that character is so well written. It's amazing that Sharpman didn't tie all the elements together. There could have been a couple more drafts, right?
For sure. But I love that concept of what do pharmaceutical companies really do? They exploit animals. They exploit whatever they can, they exploitate it, and then they turn it into a money-making thing. Look back to that jerk, Martin Shrek or whatever his name was, who bought the patent for AIDS medicine and then made it like 100 times more expensive. That's the exploitation of what they were trying to do. Because the reality is, and I like that message, that pharmaceutical companies are nothing more than just drug pushers. They find something, they exploitate it as quickly and as fast as they can to make as much money as they can. And that's really what we see happen, right? We see them come upon this, well, what is this? Because the first like 40 minutes basically is somber. Like we see this family that's kind of holding together. The daughter and father do not have a very good connection. He's so worried about work, so worried about money, so worried about the things he shouldn't be. He should be more worried about being there for his daughter. Instead, he's worried about greed, worried about money, worried about the financial side. When she just wanted her dad to be there after their mother died. Again, I love that exploitation element, but the father-daughter stuff just doesn't work.
Was it Richard E. Grant eating a unicorn steak?
I don't know what it was they were eating. I don't think it was a unicorn steak. It looked like a liver of some sort, but I don't.
But it had purple blood. And so I was kind of like, did he cook it up?
But then it resurrected itself again. Some weird.
I have questions.
Weird ideas. A lot of questions that weren't answered. But that ending, I mean, this.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So
spoilers.
Okay, so let's set up the ending. So in the ending, Will Poulter gets kicked to death. That death, I was like, damn.
Yes.
He gets like kicked and like
his
just
face.
Oh my god.
Zooming on his face, all like bruised up. That was pretty awesome.
Scooter was like, hey, you can see his feet in the background. And I'm like, all right, shut up.
Your eyes and your feet.
But no, I'm the only one with foot fetish. But so basically what happens is everybody dies, but the unicorns basically in a magical screenwriting 101, the families are restored, right? So the unicorn family's restored, Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega are restored, and then Griff and the police finally come back and they're like, the fuck happened? So they get arrested, right? And it's, the assumption is that basically they should be able to explain it away, but how are they going to explain the unicorns? And so Paul Rudd, Ortega are in a police car with a female police officer. Griff is following in what looks to be some old school Alfa Romeo. I don't know. And then the unicorns come trudging down the highway next to the car. And so we get this like sort of beautiful aha moment, like, oh, the unicorns are running free. Jenna Ortega and Paul Rudd are running to be freed, right? Because the officer is going to see the unicorns and they're going to be able to say, well, check this out, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But then in a very Fast and Furious moment, like when they broke out Vin Diesel, right? The unicorns jump in front of the police car and run it off the road, and then cut to black with the sounds of the accident, and that's the end. And so I don't know, what did you make of that ending? Like, I think because the officer saw the unicorns, they didn't have to break them out. Although I did enjoy the fact that they were like cognizant enough to know that humans would fuck each other over or somehow, or maybe not believe them, that they knew they had to like jailbreak the two and let them out. But I don't know, it's a little bit of a weird mixed message. Like, why would the unicorns do that after all they'd been through?
And it doesn't look like they're going to survive that. I think they went off of an edge. So if they were trying to make them survive or free them, that didn't seem, it seemed like he was trying to say, in the end, these are just animals that are going to do what they instinctually do. And that's what they did. They ran them off.
Oh, so wait a minute. So
that's what I thought they were.
You think the unicorns just went to kill them so that they wouldn't talk about the unicorns?
I think they were just being.
I took it as like a Fast and Furious jailbreak.
But it seemed like they were. I mean, if they were going to jailbreak, why didn't they just get in front of the car instead of running it off the side of the road and down a ravine? So again,
true. But
the screenplay is the issue here.
But I
wish there was somewhere around it.
But remember, I think that, so the reason why I took it as a Fast and Furious jailbreak was because I think we forgot to set this up for the listeners who are listening, who don't want to see the film but are listening to the spoilers. In order to, when all the stuff goes down, in order to make off with the unicorn and possibly, you know, make the product, they saw the horn off of the unicorn, the baby unicorn. But at the end of the film, the horn, Paul Rudd dies. They put the horn back on the little baby unicorn. The baby unicorn heals. And then the parent unicorns put their horn together. There's this weird, like,
I hated that part.
Snow White-esque, like, cloud that happens. And then Paul Rudd comes to life. And so, but then he sees exactly what Ortega saw when she touched the horn. So they're interconnected. And so the reason why I didn't take it as they're going to kill them was because they all have this, like, unicorn mind meld now, and they're connected. So,
Which
but that's
could be.
But you could interpret that ending as, let's just kill them all.
Yeah. I just wish it hit its landing a little bit better. Once we get those kills, man, the kills are great. I really did enjoy the kills, even though some of the CGI was dodgy. Give me that face smash over and over again. That was pretty.
Oh God, that was cool. that was crazy. But like I said, you know, I had the same reaction when I watched Krampus. I was like, Jesus Christ, are they going to go there? Like, kids are dying. Like, there's, you know, the daughter's being killed. Like, I don't know. It's now a Christmas movie, by the way. I watch Krampus every Christmas. I love it.
I love it. I have a Krampus shirt, a sweater that I'll wear once we get cold again. That's just got everything from Krampus. I love Trick or Treat. So when I went to see Krampus, I was expecting more. I was expecting more gore, more blood. And it's actually, I mean, it's a PG-13. It's a little more restrained than Trick or Treat was. So I think a lot of fans were expecting it to be more so. And then those who thought they were getting a PG-13 Hollywood or a holiday movie ended up getting a pretty downbeat horror movie.
It was like Gremlins times 1,000, right?
It really was. I do like your lining those two, because I saw a lot of troll hunters or that kind of stuff, or what was the other one? Rare exports or rare imports about this.
Oh yeah. I like that one. I like that one.
So I like these type of films, and that's kind of what I was expecting, a gritty, realistic take on something that is more fantastical, but instead the gritty stuff kind of gets used for comedy and it gets kind of glossed over. So I was expecting a little bit more raw, gritty realism, but it was much more Wicked world. Like, here's a kind of a Wicked CGI based fantasy world, and I was hoping it'd be more based into reality. For me, I say I'm still going with a soft skip on this one, for me personally, but I think the right audience will get out there and they will really eat this up. But those like me and, you know, our friend Dave over at Raiders of the Podcast, it just doesn't quite work because of some screenplay issues, pacing issues. And I just felt like we miscast the leads to try to get some big names. I felt like we could have.
I love the leads though. I thought they were all great.
I mean, I liked seeing them, but Paul Rudd just felt really misused and wasted. Just being that goofy, smiley dad with a bad haircut. I just wanted more.
A plot device. He was just a father hole.
Yeah.
So
if we were to name episodes, that would be the name of this episode. Father hole.
All right. Well, it's a watch for me. You know, yeah, it's great. It would make a great double feature. Actually, I think from now on Christmas, Krampus, Death of a Unicorn. Brr.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, we've got some pluses. Do you or me first? What do you want to do?
You go first.
Okay. So, like most of us with the pandemic, I ended up carving out or creating sort of a work office for remote work. I can still remote work, thank God. And unlike a lot of our federal workers, you know, I still have my job, which is great. But I have been wrestling with foot cushions. So I've bought a ton of them from like Amazon. You know, they're usually cheap and they're not high enough or whatever. But I ordered this and and it came this weekend.
Let's see it.
So it's from Cushion Lab. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah.
Oh, I
But
can
you
see
can
it.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see it. So it's a great foot cushion. It's made of durable memory foam, so it's nice and hard. And you can see, as I showed, that it's sort of ribbed for your pleasure. Snort. But I love it. You can kind of like rub your feet on it and get a nice little massage. It is exactly the right height. I was looking at it, I'm like, okay, is this going to work for me? But it's perfect. And yeah, I love it. It's by Cushion Lab, thecushionlab.com. They also make a ton of cushions for driving, your office seat. They've got little back things. I actually have their back thing. That's the first Cushion Lab one that I bought, which I'm removing off. So it's kind of like, it's almost shaped like a tooth in some ways, but it's for like my lumbar. Yeah, it almost looks like a big butt, but whatever. So and they've got an early Mother's Day sale going on, 35% off. They also sell pillows, satin sheets, comforters, things like that. There's also a neck relief cervical pillow, but I'm not ready to buy. I have a pillow like that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But anyway, yeah, it's called the ergonomic foot cushion. Specifically shaped by our in-house ergonomist, as it says, to enhance circulation and provide enjoyable relief. You can pamper your feet and take away unwanted tension. So yeah, it retails at $69, but you can get it on sale for like $58 or something, and it comes in a bunch of different colors. So Cushion Lab ergonomic foot cushion.
I actually need that because of my bursitis in my left ankle, right by my Achilles. That sounds awesome, by the way.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love rubbing my feet on it. It's great.
That is pretty awesome. So my plus, I'm going right back to some more media. So I watched a film this weekend that I really, really had a blast with, and I want to share because it's not getting a whole lot of talk. I'm a huge fan of who I think is probably this generation's Jamie Lee Curtis, and that is Samara Weaving. She is my scream queen. I love her. I'm kind of obsessed with her.
Oh, wait, did you watch Borderline?
Yes, so I finally watched Borderline, which is starring Samara Weaving and the wonderful Ray Nicholson in his first big lead role. And my God, did I enjoy the hell out of this movie. It's written and directed by Jimmy Warden, who's known for writing the Cocaine Bear and wrote the Babysitter sequel. Big G's Babysitter sequel. This film is about a psychopath with borderline personality disorder who's going through some issues and stalking a pop star, Sophia, played by Samara Weaving. I think it's based sometime in the 90s, is my guess, either 90s or early 2000s. When this film is set. It also has big hunk Eric Dane in it playing Belle. This movie is just so much fun. It is a great dark comedy. It really shines a light on a lot what's going on with people who have mental issues. And basically the concept or plot of this is Ray Nicholson's character went with his fiancée to see the pop singer Sophia. She ended up dying during and or right after the show, which caused him to have some issues that all of his emotions now, all of his love that he had for his now dead fiancée has been transferred towards our pop star Sophia. And we see in the beginning with this great 10-minute long intro between him and Belle, basically the bodyguard he's trying to get into see Sophia, and he gets mistaken and begins to believe that the Belle, the male bodyguard, is actually Sophia. So he is hallucinating. He is absolutely insane, and seeing what they do with this psychological horror is awesome. So again, this kind of movie's been done before, but not quite to this way. Ray Nicholson and Samara Weaving are the reason this movie works. They are just absolutely wonderful. And there is a what the fuck drop at the end of this movie that had me laughing for 3 whole minutes. I laughed so hard, I thought I was going to die. So there is some great comedy. It'd make a great double feature with something like The Monkey. Go ahead and see this if you get a chance. I really loved it. I wish it was getting more of a theatrical push. I think it's limited in some areas, but it went limited and it's on VOD. I rented it for like $6. So I recommend renting it. Get Jimmy Borden's Borderline in your eyes if you can. Just a really fun 90-minute dark comedy.
The babysitter movie that he wrote, The Babysitter Killer Queen, I believe that was the sequel. And then of course we talked about Cocaine Bear. We actually reviewed Cocaine Bear. I had a blast with that. Ray Nicholson, his head is so large. It's a very big head, but it's a very attractive head, I would add.
He looks like Leo DiCaprio and Jack Nicholson had sex and created a baby. That's like they were melded into one.
With a really ridged like forehead, just how I like it. Just very caveman. I love Ray. I love Ray Nicholson. I think he's gorgeous. It's funny you mentioned that she's a pop star because Ray was in Smile 2, right?
Yep.
But he was also recently in Novocaine. Did you see Novocaine?
I haven't. I was going to see it, but this week sucked ass, so I didn't get to it.
Got it. Yeah. Okay, yeah, well, we'll definitely have to check that out. It's actually on my watch list. I was waiting for it to go streaming free before I checked out Ray Nicholson's big head. All right. So everybody, because I didn't do this at the top of the show, just make sure wherever you're either listening to us or watching us, and I do encourage everybody to watch the video versions of our episodes, not just because I'm trying to pat myself on the back, but I try to add images and things like that so you're not just watching 2 talking heads. But regardless, wherever you're listening or seeing us, please make sure you follow, like, subscribe. You can even hit the notification button on YouTube so you'll know when a new video gets uploaded, like today when I finally uploaded Snow White. Sorry, folks, that you'll see if you watch the video version. There's a reason why it took a while. WillDaBeast and I were making I didn't realize this. We had made so many comparisons about somebody looking like somebody else that I had no choice but to put together side by sides. We did like 5 of them. So anyway, like I said, just make sure you like, subscribe, follow, leave a review. We hope it's a 5-star, but that also gets our podcast out into the unicorn universe. So we all end up on your recommended list. If you love us, you will certainly love our Podfathers, The Gentleman's Guide to Midnight Cinema. We mentioned them on our last episode because WillDaBeast had taken in the episode about life after fighting. They are on episode 720. They took on The Champions, starring Yoon Biao. That's a martial arts film. Not a Bomb, also one of our Podfathers, Troy and Brad. They take on films that bombed at the box office or critically. This time they are doing basically like showdowns or versus episodes, which I love. And so their episode 249 is Metro versus Showtime. And they are 2 Eddie Murphy cop dramas or comedies. And so with these versus episodes, it's kind of like maybe which is the bigger bomb and which is maybe better. They did one on skydiving, Drop Zone and Terminal Velocity, which is great. You must listen to it. It's fantastic. And then, of course, our pod brother, Friends with Cinefits, MC, our former co-host, and he has episode 4 of his new format, and they took on Good Time. If you love us, you'll certainly love Night of the Living Podcast, the OGs that sort of inspired all of us, actually. Wild Dream Podcast, Death by DVD, Raiders of the Podcast, Backlook Cinema Podcast, our YouTube brother in arms, John Horgan, over at Now and Now for something a little bit different, Caliber 9 and From Outer Space and The Feminine Critique. So what are we reviewing next week? Because I think we had sort of thrown out the idea of maybe having the viewers or the listeners pick what we review. So it looks like the big release weekend of April 4th is a Minecraft movie. Those trailers are kind of insane. But we additionally have something called Freaky Tales. This
Which
one
was at
stars
Sundance.
Pedro Pascal, Ben Mendelsohn, Jay Ellis, Too Short. It's from Lionsgate. 4 interconnected stories in 87 Oakland, California will tell about the love of music, movies, people, places, and memories beyond our knowable universe. We've got something called
That's by the directors of Captain Marvel, by the way. You're gonna love that movie.
That's right. The Anna Boden and how do I not know their names? Ryan, not Quantin. That's the actor from
I can't remember
True
his
Blood.
name.
Anyway,
yeah,
somebody. Wake Up. This seems to be a horror film in an attempt to draw attention to the environmental crisis. Young activists decide to invade and vandalize a furniture store. This quickly turns into a massacre when they find themselves trapped with a hunting-obsessed night guard. Okay, that sounds a little interesting. And then something called Parvulos. It's a horror film. 3 young brothers living in a cabin in the middle of the woods hide a dark, disturbing secret in their basement. I don't know what that is. And then something starring, I saw the trailer for this, The Friend, starring Naomi Watts and Bill Murray, follows a story of love, friendship, grief, and healing about a writer who adopts a Great Dane that belonged to a late friend and mentor. Looks like we're leaning towards Minecraft, but if our listeners and viewers have a different idea, let us know. We'll go there.
Reach out to us, however. Go ahead.
Oh, and I was going to say, especially depending on availability, because sometimes these things don't come to WillDaBeast's neck of the woods. They strangely don't come to my neck of the woods either, even though I'm near more of an urban thing. But WillDaBeast, you're going to tell us how they could reach out to us.
Yeah, you can reach out. You can email us, watchskipplus@gmail.com, or you can message us either on social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, or you still use X or Twitter. We did get a message I want to read. I got a message from our friend over at Raiders of the Podcast, and this is Kevin Matthews.
Oh,
he wrote,
Kevin.
Trying to catch up with the latest episodes now. I have seen the films. Glad you both enjoyed The Monkey too, although I disagree with you both on Presence. Basically, everyone on their podcast hated Presence compared to us. I got the brother thing too, though. Poor Jose and his wonderful late revelation. Smiley, smiley. Definitely great to hear you easily slot in to be a great co-host, though. I think you both have a great rapport, and I enjoyed the Mickey 17 conversation and the Electric State chat already. So thank you again, Kevin, for listening to us. I listen to those guys all the time. I just listened to their Polyester episode. They did Polyester, the great Waters film. So those guys are continuing. I don't know how they do 2 films every week, but they do. Those guys are awesome. So thank you for reaching out to us. You can email us, you can message us, and we'll do our best to read it on there. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And support exhibition, save physical media. And remember, I promise I will not sing All Is Fair from Snow White. Remember that be kind, be open, be vulnerable, and that's where the art is. So see you next week.
See you next week.
I'm ready to sing All Is Fair. Anyway. All right.